Big life changes bring big financial questions. Whether you're navigating a career shift, having a baby, or adjusting to life after divorce, this podcast is a safe space for real, practical financial information. I'm your host, Roland McIntyre, owner of Mountaintop Wealth. I'm a certified financial planner professional with over a decade of experience in the financial industry. In each episode, I will help you navigate life's money peaks and pivots by skipping the judgment and focusing on solutions to turn your uncertainty into confidence. No jargon, no fluff, and most importantly, no shame. Your climb starts here. Please be aware in this episode of Money Peaks and Pivots that we have a former client, KP, who shared their personal experience. She has not received any compensation for her participation in the podcast. To my knowledge, there are no material conflicts of interest other than she is a former client and a friend. The experiences shared by her are specific to her individual circumstances and are for her financial journey, which may be different from yours. The outcomes may not be representative of the experiences of all Mountaintop Wealth clients, and there's no guarantee the others will achieve similar results. And the podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. It should not be considered a solicitation to buy or offer any type of securities or investment advisory services. The views and opinions expressed by my guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Mountaintop Wealth. For personal financial advice, please consult with a qualified financial professional. Miss KP, how are you?
I'm good, Roland. Thank you for inviting me to your wonderful podcast.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. As we've kind of let folks know in the intro, you're a former client of Mountaintop Wealth, and I want to thank you for that. We really want to kind of talk today about some of your experiences, some before Mountaintop Wealth, some after, during, just your financial journey. And how did you talk about money growing up in your household, or how did you think about money?
Yeah, so growing up, money was never a taboo topic in my household. And not from the standpoint of I knew what my parents make. Like, I still don't know what they made, right? But it was definitely something that I saw. Like, I saw my dad actually, me and my brother were just laughing about this yesterday, how we both saw him on the back of an envelope. He would take whatever that bill was and add up the bills and see what he had to pay and where his money was. Okay, and this bill need to be paid this week. And we just saw that as kids growing up. Mm-hmm. We saw how my dad, even though he told us he didn't have money, he always had money.
Smart man.
So we knew that he always had something. That's a man that would have like money in 3 different places in his wallet, and then he would have money throughout the house. Mm-hmm. So money was never really taboo in my household. So I think that kind of allowed me to really hone in on what it meant to have money and to save money and to not put a value per se on money, but to really understand how, or at least as a kid, understand how money could work.
I mean, thank you for that. And it was the first time we talked about this. It was so refreshing to hear, because I know we're talking about a professional millennial Black woman, right? And a lot of conversations that I've had with people in that demographic is they really didn't talk about money as in their household. We didn't do it as much in my actual household. Now, with my grandfather and some my uncles and aunts a little bit, but not as much with the direct people in my household. So that even the conversations and you getting to witness some of that is different. Have you experienced that with some of the people that you come across, maybe some of your friends and colleagues, or is that a norm, or is that something that's in your neighborhood, or is it the culture? What was the difference there, or is there a difference?
That's a good question. I don't know if it was just, because I was around and spending time with my dad allowed me to see that. And not to say that I didn't see my mom do it. I saw her get her checkbook out, right? But if anyone knows me, they know me and my dad that's my partner in crime, so to speak. So anything that he was doing, I wanted to see what he was doing. I'm not sure about any of my friends per se. I know the older I got, maybe after college, I would talk to friends about money and how are you getting your credit up, those type of questions, right? But I'm not sure if they had those conversations. But I guess in my household, it was normal, and I wouldn't say that it was something that was like, KP, come here and sit and watch me do this. It was just, I might be in the room watching TV, and then I look back and I'm like, oh, he's doing some math back there. And I liked math as a kid, and
Curiosity
got me.
also get folks in trouble too, but this is good curiosity.
Well, I might have gotten in trouble some, but it's all for the good.
Oh yeah. No, this is what a lot of people need to hear. And also that it's okay, maybe if you didn't have those conversations. Any other people that that you've had conversations with that really haven't had those type of conversations? Maybe other family members, extended family members. Obviously, it sounds like your brother, mom, and dad had some good opportunities and experiences. What about some of those extended family?
Yeah, I mean, I have some nieces and nephews, and my older nieces are in their early to mid 20s, right? And so when I think about them and some of their money habits that I am witnessing as they're older, I think to myself, okay, they may not have had that growing up with their moms, right? You spend more time with your mom. So if they didn't see it necessarily, then how can they know what decent money habits are? I won't say good because, we all have our faults.
Absolutely. All of us, including me. Definitely. So how would you feel about your money goals and things that you're looking at, maybe just in the last few years, not necessarily right now, but just any of the things that you're looking at, things that you're hopeful for or were hopeful for? Talk about those experiences around money goals and habits that you just mentioned, as far as with your nieces and maybe nephews. But what about your goals today and around this time, let's just say?
Yeah, so throughout the years, my financial goals have changed when it comes to even thinking about finances.
Yeah.
I always knew how to save money. That was never an issue. Even when I was working a job paying $9.50 an hour part-time after getting a graduate degree, I still knew how to save money, right? So that's never been an issue. But just thinking about the other things, like what does my credit look like? Oh, you actually do need credit to get loans for different things. That has been kind of where I focused on in the near past, more recent past.
Yeah.
And because of that, I'm now thinking about, okay, what are my next steps? Do I want to buy a house within the next few years? My car still runs fine. It's paid for. Praise God for that.
Hey.
But I got a car in mind that I want, and I keep trying to tell myself, just hold on, right? So all those little things come into play, especially when I'm thinking about, I like to travel, and what kind of lifestyle do I want to have, right? So let's not be house poor, car poor, whatever type of poor, so we can still have those experiences, and just balancing all that.
So you named some of the things that you really like, but when we talk about family, we talk about goals, or then we start really getting into what people value, like what's important. Yeah, the house, you mentioned cars, maybe some travel. What's some of those things that you really or how do you think about values and these goals? How does that relationship kind of go together?
Yeah. So, you bring up family. I never want to be a burden on my family.
Mm-hmm.
So even after, school and everything, I tried to make sure I kept my financial request, very low. And when I say low, I mean, if I had a job, I was not asking for money other than, I may have stayed on my parents' insurance until I was 26, right? My dad paid my car insurance, things like that. I'm not going to lie. They did help me, but I made sure like those things that I wanted or needed, other than those types of things, that I tried my best to not ask them for it. And if I needed to go without, then sometimes you just go without, right? Um, for instance, I can remember my first job after college. That first Christmas, I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna ball out.
Hey.
I'm gonna spend this money. I'm gonna buy everybody some nice gifts."
Mm.
And I did. And then for 2 weeks before Christmas, I didn't have any food in my house because I had overspent my budget.
How'd you feel about like how were you feeling in that moment?
I felt dumb.
Oh, okay.
I felt dumb for overspending my budget, and I knew my parents, if I would have called home and said, "Hey, I don't have any groceries," that obviously they would have put that money in that checking account real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
However, I felt like I made this mistake. I need to own up to it, and I need to learn from it and grow from it.
Mm.
So I did what I had to do for 2 weeks, and I might have went back to my college campus and ate dinner every night. And I would eat like some snacks because I had change in my car. So I would eat snacks at work.
Mm.
And sometimes one of my coworkers that I was cool with at the time, she would bring me a plate from home from that night before what they had ate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that for 2 weeks.
So you done learned some lessons the hard way.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to learn it the hard way to get it.
Yeah. Well, what has some of those lessons kind of also brought you now? What do you see different as far as your finances now? You talk about some challenges and some things and some low paying jobs. I know but you're not gonna humble brag on yourself, but you're successful. You've done well in your career. You're very young and I think very successful as far as professionally climbing that corporate ladder if you want to, and how would you just look at yourself from where you were to where you are now as far as with your finances, not being specific as far as dollar amounts or anything, but just how do you look at your finances now?
Oh, wow. So
I know.
now I look at my finances as they're working for me instead of me working for them in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just thought of that. That was good.
That was
off
a bar.
the dome right there.
Boom.
That was a bar. Mic drop. But seriously though, I really do look at my finances as they're working for me. So, previously as I've been progressing career wise, this is something that's big for me, right? In the past, I did not do anything on Autopay. I need to see that money come out of my account. I need to first check my account to make sure I have the money.
Yeah.
And then I need to go in and pay it so I can make sure that it was paid and that I still have money in my account after it was paid and all those things. And now I have, not everything, but most of my monthly costs like rent and utilities and things of that nature, I do have it on Autopay. And for me, that's huge.
Yes.
And I was actually just saying this to my brother. I talk to my brother a lot. But I was telling him, like, I have not checked on when a payday has been in probably a year. I've lost track of when I get paid for about the last year. And that is mind-boggling to me as someone that would be counting down the days for that paycheck. Like, okay, it's gonna hit at midnight. Okay, I might could spend at 11:55. and pay this because on midnight it's gonna drop in that account. Yeah. And then when it didn't drop in that account at midnight, I'm looking at the bank like, what are you doing with my money?
Yeah.
So going from that to, oh, it's on Autopay. Yeah. I don't know when my payday is. Like, that is just wild to me. I'm not gonna lie.
So that's huge. That's growth. That's huge. I think about people having, I don't know if you would call it a transformation or a change. What do you credit that to? As far as the things in your life, maybe I would think family is big on that because you keep referencing family. But what are some of the things that maybe materials that you've looked at or conversations? What has really been the things that have contributed to your success?
Yeah. So financially speaking, I do have a cousin that I am really close with. And about 2018, she told me to read I Will Teach You to Be Rich because we were talking about finances. Mm-hmm. She's someone I aspire to be like when it comes to finances. Mm-hmm. So when she tells me to do something, I do try to do it. So for years, I would get through like the first 10 pages of that book and I'm like, I don't want to read this. This is dry. I just wasn't ready to read it. However, I started working with you. Mm-hmm. So shout out to you, Roland. And you had me watch his show on Netflix. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, because that's something easy to do. Mm-hmm. And then I got interested and we got to talking. And I think I told you about my cousin that it tried to get me to read that book. Did. And I did not read it at all. Sorry, girl, but I've read it now. But you actually bought me the book. And I took the time to read it and it was a slow read. He writes in that book that this is like a 6-week journey. And I'm here to tell y'all that book took me about 3-4 months and it was long. Because every time I would read it, I would read something and then I would stop reading and I would go check to see if what he was saying in the book, if I was doing that.
If you matched up. Okay.
Right. And most of the time I was because I was working with you, Roland. Mm-hmm. So you had got me set up to where I really just had to check and I could come on back. Or I would write down a question that I had based off the book so the next time I met with you, I could ask you about it. It's excellent. It will teach you some things. It will teach you a lot of the things that you need to know. Mm-hmm. However, I will say, if you don't have someone driving you to actually become interested in learning that, then you're not going to necessarily take in what is giving you. So I would just say that I Would Teach You to Be Rich is a valuable resource, but it shouldn't be your only resource. And it's not the only valuable resource out there. It's just something that was, again, a lengthy process for me to digest, but it was digestible. Now that I've read it, I'm like, oh my gosh. Now I have my 2 of my nieces, they are hating me right now because I'm making them read it.
Ooh.
One is 24 with a 1-year-old. So, she's got some life experiences trying to get her finances together. And then I also have my 14-year-old niece reading it. And my goal for her is she might not remember what she reads, right? She's 14. But I want her to at least know in her, in the future that if she has a question, she's like, oh, well, I could ask my TT or I could go back to the book that she made me read way back when. Mm-hmm. So just, it's important to talk about finances. I believe it's important to talk about finances. And you don't have to get into the numbers of it. But I think it's important for the people in your life to hear you talk about it. So it's not something scary. It's not something taboo. And so they can learn from you. So hopefully the next generation can do better than you. And now I talk to them about finances. I talk to my brother about finances. My parents, I talk to them about finances. It's crazy. I'm talking to a lot of people in my family about different finances and about the different things that I learned. So anytime I would talk to you, Roland, in a session, I would like take that back and I would tell my dad about it, or I tell my mom about it. I remember I have student loans. You have a professional degree, you probably have a student loan, or you had one at some point. And so we were talking about that, and you had me start listening to a podcast. I listened to a podcast episode, and they were talking about some kind of way to get forgiveness if you've had a student loan for 20 plus years or something during the pandemic. And I heard it and I was like, oh, let me see if I can send this to my mom, because my mom went back to college later in life, so she still had student loans at the time, and send it to her, and she did what was suggested, and her student loans were forgiven.
Boom,
right? So just
like that,
because I was working with a financial advisor.
Yeah.
Which it was suggested to me to work with a financial advisor by someone I worked with. He told me, this is the time to get your finances together. You're making more money now.
Oh my goodness. The themes, the bars, the lessons that you're dropping are huge. It's a ripple effect. One person, what I'm hearing is one person's environment and having conversations with their family changes that whole not just the family tree, but the people they interact with, the people that you interact with. And now that you're open and having those conversations about money, now you can talk to somebody at work and they can tell you, hey, you need to work with somebody. Hey, and you can be receptive of that conversation and not feel a burden or shame or saying like, wait a minute, is that some code for something else that's saying and really just listening and actually following through. And being receptive to a financial advisor, whether it's listening to a podcast or a Netflix show or reading a book, you have taken that and really helped so many other people just by you receiving that knowledge. I know you probably don't think of it like that, but that is a huge impact you've had on family members, probably friends, people that admire you. I know you said you have mentors and people you look up to. I'm pretty sure those nieces and nephews, especially that 14-year-old, because I got a 15-year-old myself. So getting a 14-year-old on it early is a great thing. So I'll have to nudge my son on that. I've had him read some other financial books, but I hadn't got him to read I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Maybe I'll nudge him a little bit further on that one this summer, since summer break is coming up. We'll see. I got him also doing some tax stuff too.
Oh man,
I know.
That's a lot.
He's 15. It's all right. Instead of a summer job, he's getting some summer financial education. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. No. Look, we say that. Up next, we'll have my son. No, I'm just playing. And he'll say, no, this conversation, I mean, has been wonderful. Any other things that you would like to just talk about? And I really, really, of course, I'm biased. I want people to have an accountability partner that's an expert, and that's usually a financial advisor, that person who's been there and done that. It's good to have family members. It's good to have friends to have these conversations with. That makes the conversation with the financial advisor, I think, even more valuable. So what do you think, as far as if you're talking to someone, is folks listening, what should be your message to them as far as just in finances in general, not as you being a financial expert or anything of the such, but just with your experiences and the background that you've talked about today, what closing thoughts would you do you have?
I definitely recommend a financial advisor. And here's why. If you're someone like me that just, you know a little bit, and when I say a little bit, I do mean a little, big LITTLE, then you need that person that's going to give you a little extra push. And you need someone that's going to help hold your hand through whatever transition you may need through that financial world. I remember I switched jobs. And when I first started working with you, I had done something with my former jobs. It wasn't a 401k. It was like a Roth IRA. And I still had that check, and it had been months. And you immediately said, what are you doing with your life, basically? You need to hurry up and get that deposit. And you stayed on me. If you would not have stayed on me, I probably would not have got it deposited. And I'm just going to be honest with that, because I had other things going on mentally.
Life was
and
lifing.
life was lifing. So sometimes that financial advisor is needed to make sure you stay on track. And because I was working with you, that's what made me want to become interested in learning more about the financial world.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to understand things. And when we would talk and meet up and talk about my finances, I didn't want to feel like I was wasting our time because I didn't understand something. So for me, that meant I needed to go out and get myself educated. And I wasn't reading books, obviously. So a podcast or a YouTube video, and you got to be clear on your sources, of course. I mean, I'm not just listening to Joe Smo. But that helped me get an understanding. So when you broke something down to me further, it would click faster, or you might say something, I'm like, he has spent all this time explaining and I still don't get it. So I'm gonna have to go back and find some other stuff. And then I still might come back to you and be like, okay, when you said this, did you mean this? And you'll be like, yes, that's it. And I'm like, oh, light bulb moment, right? So I think that is why you have a financial advisor. It's not that you can't figure it out on your own. It's that financial advisor is the push that is needed sometimes. And most people need that push.
KP, thank you for being on. I don't want to go any further. That's a mic drop right there for me. With that, thank you again. And hey, you've been a client and a friend, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Anytime.